Go live button. Let's move the chat over here. Live button.
Dun, dun, dun. Moving the chat, baby. We messed up already.
Yeah, let me close this out.
Are we live?
We're live because I heard it.
Oh boy.
Caller, turn your radio down.
It's why we pre-gamed, man. That's
right. Yep, we're good. Hello, everyone.
5 people. What's up? Good evening.
What's up?
It's
been 2
weeks.
A
couple weeks.
Was it 2 weeks or was it 2 weeks? Did we miss 2 shows in a row?
Indeed.
Okay, so it's been 3 weeks since our last show, right?
No, 2 because we missed 2.
2. Okay.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm asking you. That's the man's name. So Oldies Radio.
Howdy.
Didn't check the take-up reel and apparently was bent on one side. So guess what happened? Yeah, goofed my first 16mm film. Oh goodness. It's been 2. Okay. Sorry. It's been, work has been bonkers for me, and it has just been nonsense here. So,
a lot's changed in the past 2 weeks, dude.
It's just a little bit, yeah. So who else on? We got Oldies Radio.
Oldies Radio in his house. There's 3 watching now. There were 5 people waiting. Now there's only 3 watching. So we've managed to scare 2 people off in the first, half a minute. So
that happens. Happens to the best.
It's a new record.
So welcome. We'll get it grooving. We'll get it going here. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the Rolling Stones, the top 12 personal favorites of songs that weren't singles but are pretty darn good Rolling Stones songs, because we're both Rolling Stones fans, but
absolutely
stuff that's not on there. So with that being said, Steve, I know that Harlem Shuffle and Undercover of the Night won't be making your list.
That is very, very true. That is very true.
Oh, Jerry's on.
Harlem Shuffle was a hit.
What's up, Jerry?
Hey, what's going on, Jerry?
The Harlem Shuffle is actually a pretty decent Rolling Stone song. I'll say that.
Okay, Mark, stop.
I'll say that from.
Stop. Why would you say that?
It's because it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
You know what?
Considering everything else. Go ahead. You first.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you, but a song an album, should I say, that I went back to and listened to for this because I did my research and my homework. So we're the professionals, Mark, and we really wanted to get a good, solid take. Now, Harlem Shuffle would not be on that take, but another hot take. Too Much Blood. I off of Undercover of the Night. I went back and listened to this. So not bad. Great, no, but not bad. But Harlem Shuffle is. I do like One Hit to the Body off of Dirty Work, because the One Hit to the Body. You know that song?
But that was wasn't that that was a single too, though, right? Wasn't
that?
That was
the
hit. Single.
It was the off of that record.
That was it. But I think one thing that's been interesting about this is that, you know, looking at these songs, maybe it was just the mood that I was in as I've been going through these, but like, there's a lot of ballads, right? So like, I feel like, you know, you always get sort of like the, you know, the Stones sound, the Stones classic, if you will.
Sure.
Those are always the ones that are the singles, but then like there's some good ballads on there. So
no, they're great. There's some fantastic ballads. Some of their best stuff is their ballads.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk to you about that, but let's do a little show and tell first. So what have you been listening to?
So lately I've been listening to, I don't have a physical copy of this. I've been streaming it, but it is Big Country's The Crossing.
Big Country, okay.
John, what's up, John? John's a good guy. John sent me a movie I need to watch this weekend, and I'll report back. I'll do it with my show and tell.
So the Big Country, as in the band Big Country?
Yes, okay. Big Country. Their first record. I've been listening to that. I really like it a lot. And the other thing I've been listening to, I've got a couple here to show you, is the Tony Williams Lifetime Emergency. Are you familiar with this?
No.
This jazz fusion, Miles Davis era, good stuff. It's really good. It's fantastic. There's
So tell me a little bit about Tony Williams, because I'm not really too familiar.
Well, he played with everybody. Everybody you
Okay.
can think of, he played for. It's got John McLaughlin on it. So if you like, if you like, Bitches Brew era in a silent way, Miles Davis, you'll love this. This is one of the first fusion albums. I think this predated. Don't hold me to it, but I think this predated a lot of that rock jazz fusion stuff.
Yeah.
If not, it was certainly among the first to come out. So I've been listening to that, and this is going to be somewhat of a hot take. But it's an album that I have decided long enough that it is my favorite Bob Dylan album,
Okay.
and it is John Wesley Harding. I listened to this today. My daughter even ended up liking it. She says, "I like this," and a lot, especially like what is that? Uh, Gosh, is it Drifter's Escape or I Dreamed last night? I saw St. Augustine where like it's a really sharp harmonica intro.
Yeah.
She really likes harmonicas, so like she was like, this is good stuff.
That's a good album. That one.
This is pound for pound my favorite Bob Dylan album.
Okay. That one came to me at an interesting time, and I'm always a big purveyor in saying that like you don't get Bob Dylan unless you're sort of like going through stuff. Like it makes
Sure.
sense, and I'm a real like I believe that. Like when I start getting into like Bob Dylan or like every once in a while like how you just sort of like become obsessed with him for like a couple of weeks or something like that, and that's like all you listen to. Like it's
Right.
very emotional kind of, I don't know, driven music, and really anything from even Street Legal, whatever. Like I have an emotional connection to pretty much every single Bob Dylan album, and that's just the way that it is. That's the way his music
And
is.
Street
But
Legal's not bad either. I like that
it's
record. I think that
wonderful.
gets kind of lost in the shuffle, but yeah, Senor Tales of Yankee Power is really great. That whole album's great.
Yeah,
I like Street Legal a
Changing of the
lot.
Guards, Groom Still Waiting at
Yep.
the Altar. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a top album for me. So,
Yeah. Right
what
on.
else? What else you
So
got? Just those
that's what
two?
I've been
Okay.
just those three, and just it's what I've been listening to and enjoying this past couple of weeks.
I have a shortload of stuff because I I haven't been doing very well at the don't buy anything in March, but I sold some stuff on eBay, so it's all guilt free, because it's in my PayPal. So,
Oh.
um, but let's talk a quick minute. We wanted to talk about Scott Hall, Razor Ramon.
Yeah,
Rest in peace. I'm sure that a
terrible.
lot of folks have probably heard that, in the news, really just yesterday. But I think I've been really following the story all weekend, where they were talking about that he had fallen, broken his hip, and then he had a blood clot, complications of the surgery, 3 heart attacks, and that was it. So
Yeah.
Razor Ramon is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers of that era, of that 90s
How
early.
could he not be? Yeah,
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, and I had mentioned it to you earlier today how it's just, he made other guys shine, right? Like he was an awesome heel, and he just made you kind of hated him, but he was so cool. Like it was just like he could do whatever he wanted to, and it was just kind of funny. But the ladder match with Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 10, probably one of the greatest matches of all time.
It's
It
among my favorites, if not my favorite of all time. And then the one that he had in SummerSlam the
no,
same year is fantastic too.
exactly. Yeah, those are, again, two of his, and again, from being, Razor Ramon to the NWO, that whole angle, like, I mean, again, he was extremely influential, and and I know that he's just sort of in the last couple of years, like you said, got his life back together and all that. But there is a DVD. He does have his own, the Scott Hall DVD.
It's fantastic.
It's probably one of the better ones that they have ever put out. So yeah, so condolences to his family and all that. But yeah, that's definitely a bummer. But I'll kind of move into, so this is one thing I've been kind of working through. Dr. Mo, I don't know exactly his handle offhand in my head. Dr. Mobius 79, I think I think is what his Instagram handle is. He's into wrestling and other geekiness stuff. So he's
One
always
of us. One of us.
is always sort of buying toys at Dollar Tree and Big Lots and Walmart and Target and all that. But he shared this. This is a book called The Way of the Blade. 100 of the greatest bloody matches in wrestling history. And it's pretty cool. It has, they're pretty short, stories, and then there's like one little drawing of each match. but it's been kind of cool to kind of go through these and ones that I've seen, things like that. So I
And
think that
50 of them are from Terry Funk, and the other 50 are from
there
Abdullah the
are there
Butcher,
are
right?
yeah, there are quite a few. I don't think there was an index in this. I think that was like my biggest. I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, there was like no index, which I thought was
That's odd.
which was greatly missing from this book, where you could just say, "Oh, hey, that's that." But yeah, the way of the blade. Oldies radio, you were WCW guy, I see. Um, not a lot of blood on WCW, right? They had all those standards and
Oh,
practices, so they couldn't do any blading or anything like that.
right.
Um, so just a few things. I'm gonna maybe show like 5 things here, but I'll make it really quick. Um, Steve, I know you and I were both super excited for this. Have
Yes,
you
very
given
much
this a
so.
listen yet or not?
Not a proper listen. I
Okay.
skimmed it. I need to sit down and really kind of absorb it a little bit. But the live stuff that I did listen to, like, is good. It's really interesting to hear some of those songs come to life on stage.
Yeah, and I think the one thing too that I'll just mention to you, that there is one of the songs that is on that first disc, like as a bonus track, is actually
Mhm.
from that show on the second disc. So they didn't have enough room to
Okay.
put it on. So just so you know, it was from the same date. I just was reading that through. But so pretty much live at the Fillmore, May 16th, 1970. I forget when this came out offhand. I don't have the information in front of me, but when it's, I think that predated the. I think that show predated the actual release of this album, but it's good. I mean, it's definitely an audience recording, so it's not like sonically, like it's no Grateful Dead show as far as the sonic thing goes. Are you looking it up right now for me? Yeah.
I am.
Okay. Um, but Spirit 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus is an incredible album, and it's an incredible
Oh yeah.
one-sided album. Side A is just a perfect album. Side B kind of drags a little bit, but um,
Yeah, it doesn't end the best. The
yeah,
last
yeah.
the last couple of tunes are kind of rough, but November 27th of 1970.
So this is May. So about 6 months later is when the album actually came out. So this was actually kind of hard to find. This is on the Esoteric label. Steve, I know you and I love
Yeah.
this album, or this album record label: Cherry Red, Grapefruit, Strawberry, all those things. So there was a restock of these that I found, and I snagged 2 copies for us. So that's been fun listening to that recently. Um, there was a new Strawberry release, so this is sort of
Oh,
Strawberry is the more it's kind of the more sort of mod side of Cherry Red. It's not the Grapefruit's more like the psychedelic whatever. So this is sort of like freak beat, sort of R&B, sort of like early Who. If you think about maybe the Who's first album, there's a lot of stuff on there. The bands that would toured around, and then when they got their deal, then they sort of became the bands that we know sort of in the late 60s, right? So like the Moody Blues, things like that. Manfred Mann, Graham Bond's on here. Yardbirds, of course. So it's called I Love to See You Strut. Um, and there's a really great tune. The Graham Bond one is a harmonica, which was from a movie, Gonks Go Beaked. It's sort of like a sci-fi kind of thing, but Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce are in the band at that time, and it's a really cool tune. Go ahead.
speaking of Ginger Baker, have you seen? Gosh, what's it called? It's a documentary that Ginger Baker did, like in the
Yeah.
early '70s, where he met Fela Kuti. Dude, I
Oh,
watched that for the first time.
okay.
It blew my mind. That was so. It was great. It was absolutely great. It was one of those things that I just kind of like was gonna skim through or something. I watched the whole thing. That's. I know I'm super behind on that, but
Yeah.
that's absolutely essential viewing.
There's another one too that's like it's like a probably from like 2005 or something like that. It's like the Dangerous Mr. Baker or something like that. Have you seen
Beware of Mr. Baker.
yeah,
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like it's the guy with like his cane, like at the end of it, it's like breaks a guy's nose and all that. So, Oldies Radio talking about Spirit real quick he said he got the one with I Got a Line on You, but I don't have the cover. I think
Yeah, that's the family that plays
Plays
together.
Together is that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's their second record.
and Spirit's an interesting band. You and I talked about that real quick, is sort of their style of music really didn't kind of fit like traditional, like they weren't like a traditional rock band because they had the jazz influences and just
A
sort of
huge jazz influence. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And I think their sound wasn't like you and I talked about. Their sound wasn't San Francisco esque. Like, I
right,
asked you, like, do you think they were influenced by the Dead? And you're like, not at all. I don't hear that at all with them. And I agree with you, but they're not blues influenced either. And so it was kind of like one of those two camps. But I definitely think that they have their own unique sound,
yeah,
just like the Doors do, in terms of they have their influences, but they're not like like you can tell, okay, well, Led Zeppelin, their influences are this, that, and the other thing. With Spirit and the Doors, it's almost like they craft a different subgenre of what they were doing, what their contemporaries were doing.
well, think about the song Mechanical World and how that's kind of on par with like the Alabama song. Like it's almost the
Yeah,
exact, and again,
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
one of the few bands that did that sort of time signature in music and kind of did something with it. But yeah, I think they're hard, and I think that was sort of led to their downfall, was that they were hard to categorize. Like people couldn't be like, hey, you got to listen to this. Like their first
yeah,
album, like you said, does sort of have that that sort of California vibe, that sort of kind of the LA sound. I mean, right, it's more of an LA sound than a San Francisco sound. But yeah, I feel like their albums are essential. I think that they're
yes,
for me, it gets a little patchy for me personally after like those first five albums. But the any of those ones the family plays together, their first
mm,
album. I think 12 Dreams is probably the one that kind of stands out the most to me. I think I can just kind of pull that album out and be like, I want to listen to at least that first half, like that first 20 minutes, and it's just like, okay, that's like a really good 20 minutes of music. It's sort
yeah,
of like it's like Van Morrison's Moondance. Like that first side of it is like really a really good one side album, maybe the best one side album, and then like the second side, you're sort of like, okay, I want to listen to something else. But
Well,
yeah,
they've got a huge catalog, and they were around for the same time as the Dead were. Like they're a band that was active for 30 years. So
mm,
there's a lot to digest with that band. I am working on something with getting everything compiled with that, and I don't know quite what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'll certainly bring it to the show, and maybe we can have,
we do
I
a
don't know,
spirit
a
episode.
Spirit.
Yeah.
So it'll be longer than that. Well, yeah, I can kind of, yeah, we'll figure
We
it
can
out.
do
But
like we
just
did
real
with the
quick,
birds, you know what I mean? Like we can sort of do something like that. So um
but Jerry says that Dusty Rhodes is the greatest blader of all time. Dusty Rhodes is the greatest of all time, period. I agree with that, sir. In any facet. Promos, my belly's just a little big. My hiney's just a little
Mellow
big.
Yellow
But, brother,
commercials. I think yeah, he's number one for Mellow Yellow commercials too. He did
and
he did more for Mellow Yellow than Kyle Petty did for Mellow Yellow. I think we can say that, right?
we can safely say that. And Oldies Radio says, I watched The Sandlot yesterday. It still holds up. Yeah, that's a classic baseball movie.
True.
That's great. It's really great. So I
Mark
got Spirited 76. Spirited 76 is really good too. So is Clear.
Mark Neely jumped in here and said Spirit just never got the sort of reappreciation or reappraisal like so many 60s and 70s bands. They sort of just remained in the cheap records even today, which is rare. Yeah.
And nobody talks about them.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that band. You're absolutely right, Mark. They don't get the recognition, and they nobody talks about them.
Well, in they're really I think the weird thing is about 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus, I think, was the only album that they had that ever maybe went gold. I want to say that it sold enough copies, and it was one of their worst charting albums, like right out of the gate. From what I think that from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're again they're nobody talks about them, but I feel like they're um, like my introduction to them was sort of interesting. Like there was a CD that they have as a compilation, and it just has 10 tracks on. It's called "I Got a Line on You," and there's that song on there, and a handful of other, just I would say from each album, maybe like two songs that are like probably the best two songs on the album. Um, and I remember like looking at the cover, and it's sort of they're kind of like in it's almost like I don't know, they're like kind of like in a field kind of thing,
A
and
wheat field or something.
no, it's not that one, but they're just kind of like sitting on a field, and it was just weird seeing Ed Cassidy and just like this like bald headed like old guy in the band, and it was sort of like, well, these guys look like hippies, but like who's this guy? Like, it was kind of weird. But I bought it.
Is
I bought that, and it was like, okay, this isn't too bad. You know what I mean? Like the track
yeah.
listing was pretty decent on it. Here, I'll pull it up. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Ed Cassidy kind of stood out. It's kind of like a Cheap Trick thing where you got like the two good-looking guys, with Rick,
right,
with
sure.
Robin Zander and Tom Peterson. Then you've got the two guys who look like your dad with Rick Nelson and Bunny Carlos. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like one of those things, but it was unironic. So, but Spirit's one of those bands that I feel like the word underrated gets tossed around a little bit too much, but I think it's apropos for them to say that band is vastly underrated.
So here's the 10 songs that were on that compilation. So number 1 was I Got a Line on You, It Shall Be, I'm Truckin', So Little Time to Fly, Aren't You Glad, 1984, Uncle Jack, Fresh Garbage, which is probably one of my favorite tunes of theirs, Nature's Way, and then Prelude, Nothing to Hide. And that was all that was on there. So it was a weird, you know what I mean? Like just kind of their early stuff, right? Just a compilation of the earlier stuff. And then I got the, what is it, the Model Shop, that one that was like the Sundays compilation. So that's just sort of all like the instrumental sort of things. And then I got 12 Dreams, and then from then on I just sort of got every single one. The first album I think was the next album I got after that. But that one is the first album is up there too, but definitely, 12 Dreams is one that I listen to just for pleasure. Like I just got to be like, I'm just going to put this on and I'm going to enjoy, some tunes, really.
Well, that was my introduction to Spirit. I had a friend of mine who had 12 Dreams, and he was like, "Hey, you need to listen to this." And I remember I was with two of my friends, and the three of us went to the record store, and they had two Spirit CDs. They had Dr. Sardonicus and the Best Stuff. That one that came out and said where they're all like looking down and all that.
Okay, yeah.
And so my buddy bought 12 Dreams and I bought the Best Of. And so that was kind of like our introduction to Spirit. But, I always had a friend of mine that just was like, always like one step ahead. I think you need that person in your life, that's always like one step, like, hey, you should be listening to this, or have you heard of this guy? Check these out. But we were all 17 and we were like, hey, this is really good stuff. So Spirit was one of those early bands that I really latched onto and was like, these are underground enough to be cool, but they're not so obscure that they're just obscure for all the right reasons. Like they're not very good. No, they're obscure, but like I said, they're very, very underrated. Such a good band.
And if you give them time, if you just give them time, you'll discover, be like, yeah, these are great albums. So maybe that's why that they're in the bins to this day, because people just don't like. They may play it once and just be like, I don't know, I'm not gonna. They don't get it, right? Sometimes it's difficult to do that. So, but yeah, Mark Neely. Take a look at this. Keep your eyes to the sky if you haven't seen this. So it's a 2-disc, nice big fat booklet with it.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, Esoteric, man, and that Cherry Red in general. Like it's like I'm like at the point now where it's like the only label that I'm buying anything on.
Do you have a subscription service that I can just pay like a fee and just like you send me a box a month?
I wish. Yeah. I mean, I just go. I mean, I seriously, I went on Facebook and I went on their page, right? And I just, they always are like, hey, here's reissues and stuff like that coming out. And then I usually like check their page like once a week. And I know the cool thing is when it's like the street date for whatever. So like the day that this came out, then it's like they announce sort of the next ones that are coming out in May. So those ones are really cool. There's like an LA Nuggets kind of thing, sort of the Lee Hazelwood kind of thing that's coming out in May.
Oh,
and what did I send you? Right. There were two. There was, I forget what the other one was. There was something else that was coming out that looked pretty.
I gotta look. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was probably something I sent you like at 11 o'clock at night, and it was like whatever. So, and then the last two things, and then we'll get into our top 12. So Steve, Little Free Libraries. Do you have any of these? Do you have any of these in South Carolina? Have you seen these at all?
We do. In fact, we did that the other day when we were at the park. There was a book my daughter really wanted, and so we'll go back there and we'll drop one off. But yes, we do have those. Some parts of South Carolina aren't too fond of reading books, but at least in our household, we're all for it.
There you go. So I know that I'd messaged you the other day about this. Whoops, probably end the stream there as I drop it on the keyboard. So in one of the Little Free Libraries, there was
that looks awesome.
So I've been really, I mean, and again, you know me, this is not in my wheelhouse.
Somebody put that in there, was like, Mark will like this, and if you don't, send it to me because that looks awesome.
Oldies Radio was saying they have the little free pantries. They have a food version. We have those here too. There's
Yeah,
sometimes that there's like cans of beans and stuff like that in those or whatever. So but yeah, this is on the Soul Jazz label, which um, is
the Art Ensemble of Chicago.
yeah. I mean, it's they
They're far out. They're great.
in yeah. I mean, there's just this is just again this is just something that I'm not really used to really checking out or anything like that. So the Alice Coltrane there's a Love Supreme that she does on there, which is really cool. It's a little bit different than what you'd expect, but yeah, this was fun, and I couldn't believe it was like there was this and I think what like two Sonny Rollins CDs I think, and I was like I'm taking this one. Like I'm all about the compilations. I'll take this. So been listening to that a lot, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about was I showed you this. So
Yes.
Entourage. They were sort of like an avant-garde musical theater group, right? Musical theater ensemble. They have two albums that came out on Folkways, sort of in the '70s. They're not that hard to find. They've repressed them, so they're about $30 or so. You can get them, even like originals, like sealed originals. It just was something that not really everybody was too interested in. So the on Friday of last week, Folkways said, "Hey, we have this new thing coming out from Entourage, and this is actually live at Chatham College. So Chatham is in Pittsburgh. So of course, Steve, right? Like, take my money, right? You know me, right? Like, how could I not, right?
Add to cart.
Yeah. So they have like, and they're all like these little like. It's interesting. They're like made to order, right? So like it's not like it isn't. I mean, it's seriously a CDR, right? So it's a CDR.
Yeah, but look at
Uh,
that packaging.
yeah, I mean, it's a nice little, and they sort of do sort
Yeah.
of like the wraparound thing. I also bought this. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so this is fun, and this came out on the maybe a year or two ago. This came out on the Tompkins Square label. This is like outtakes. They also did like a 3 CD box set of it. But it's just really out there, sort of just like I had an English teacher one time tell me that everything that didn't happen in the '60s happened in the '70s, and I think that goes true for Entourage. Like it's just sort of like this um, out there thing. And Oldies Radio, you might want to check it out because it's something for I think Omaha, Nebraska. There's something um, on their public access that they did. There's like a 40-minute video on YouTube. Just type in Entourage and it's like all these sculptures that were in Nebraska and they're sort of like playing their music and dancing around. It's out there. It's very out there. I loved it. Um, so when I put my order in, I'm a big folk legacy, right? Like a big folk legacy fan. Folk legacy in the last couple of years, uh, Smithsonian Folkways, I think purchased the catalog or the catalog was donated to them. So they also do these again. They're sort of these you know, print on demand CDs. So, big fan of Gordon Bach. And I got this just to see. First, I didn't want to like pay like $5 shipping for one CD, so I was like, throw another one in there, take the sting off of it a little
That's
bit.
how they get you.
Exactly. Um, but I was just kind of comparing this to how my vinyl rip of this sounds, and it's okay. So I'm not.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the fidelity is definitely I don't know. It sounds like they ripped it from a record, and from what I understand, they don't really have like the master tapes for a lot of this stuff, which is
So that's exactly what they did.
so
They
that's
were like, hey,
exactly
just
yeah. I mean, it's some of the stuff did exist. I talked to the owner years ago. You can look at my old videos on here from 10 years ago when that was a thing that I did, but they have this really cool thing that you can donate. It's not tax deductible, unfortunately. But for like $200 for the entire year, you can download like $1,000 worth of um, the Folkways records, and the whole catalog is streaming. So you can like any Folkways record that you could ever want. Like if you wanted like the sounds of insects, you could download that. Which that's like a $30 record, right? If you go on eBay and look at it now, very hard to find. So I was like thinking, like I did the math, and
yeah.
if you pay that $220, you could essentially there's 115 titles on the Folk Legacy
It's
label.
not terrible, yeah.
So that's like $2 a CD. So you could basically download FLAC files of every single. I'm thinking about it. So just to let you know, do you have $200 burning a hole in your pocket, Steve? So.
I do not. I do not. But one thing I want to talk to before we do this. Hold on. How about the new? How can I put this? The MC1.
The MC1, the MC1. Yes. I completely forgot that we didn't add that to the list of things to talk about. So, what are your thoughts?
So the MC5 are back, and by that I mean that Wayne Kramer is like, damn, I need some more money. So he's got some dudes together, and they are calling themselves the MC5, and they have a new song called "Heavy Lifting," and it is not a grower. I will say that I didn't like it the first time, and I have not enjoyed it on subsequent listens. Now, granted, there's only 30 seconds. Maybe it picks up and it goes and it sounds like Starship by the end of it. But one can hope. It's interesting that after all this time, there's a new MC5 record, quote unquote, that is scheduled to come out. I don't know that there's a release date right now for it.
I think we're saying May, I think is what he was saying.
Is there? Okay.
Because May was when the shows were happening, so I think it was sort of in support of the new album. Yeah, it's an interesting. I don't know how I feel about it right now. I don't. I still am sort of like on the fence about it. MC50 was 4 years ago now at this point, which is hard to believe. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough, and I don't think it's going to be the fourth MC5 album. It'll be the fourth MC5 album in name only.
Well, yeah. Just like it's not the MC5. It's Wayne Kramer and some dudes, and that's no offense to them.
Right.
That's not a shot against them. I'm sure they're all fine guys and great musicians in their own right, and they know what they're doing. You know, if Wayne wants to call it that, call it that. But it's a name only, and you and I have talked about that, and I was getting irrationally upset at that notion. I'm like, you know what? What is this legacy? They're harming their legacy. I hear so many people talk about they're harming their legacy, and it's like, you know, these guys aren't going to live forever, and they're cashing in. And you know, as you said, you know, Wayne probably has a ton of regrets, as I'm sure he does. It's just sad that they couldn't do this. They couldn't do something, I guess, when Michael Davis was still around and when Dennis Thompson was still on good terms with Wayne and they were getting along. It's just a shame that there wasn't anything that ever became of that lineup. And obviously it's an even bigger shame that they didn't do anything with Rob and Fred again. But
yeah, I mean,
things happen.
And Rob was putting stuff out. I think he was set to put out, he passed away, what, in
91.
Okay. So I think he was set to put something out.
Well, he put out Blood Brothers, which is not a bad album. It's an 80s rock record on one side, but then the other side, and I don't think this was by design, but it's like half of the record, not necessarily side one, but just interspersed between them. Most of the record is 80s rock, like what you would hear, but then the other stuff is kind of like garage rock with like an 80s reverb on it, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So it's patchy, but it's good. It's not terrible.
I think, and again, just thinking about it in hindsight, where it's like, okay, that's 1991, and you know, that's really not even 20 years from when they broke up. You know, that time, and you know, again, you look at the time past now. That okay, it's over 50 years ago when Kick Out the Jams came out, and it's just like, I don't know, it weighs heavy on my head. Especially, I don't know, and again, you know, I think I mentioned in a previous show, you know, I did the MC50 fan experience. I got to meet Wayne. I got to ask him questions. I asked, you know, is there any other things from Kick Out the Jams in the vault? And he said no. They played the same set twice, same night. They just took the best songs from both nights and put it on one, and that was it. And
so there you go.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. It sucks. You know what I mean? It really does.
And the other thing too is there was a time in when Wayne was incarcerated, back in the late 70s, where Rob was touring as the MC5, and
Okay.
it was really the Rob Tyner band. But I mean, there's flyers and things like that where it's it's booked as the MC5, but it's only Rob. So I don't think that anybody is above flaunting the name because that's their cash cow.
Yeah.
That's is underground, I guess, as the MC5 are still to this day, is still somewhat of a recognizable name. And I'm sure, Wayne Kramer versus the MC5 on the marquee, I'm sure that the MC5 is going to pull in a little bit more people. So,
But it's interesting that the band is completely different, right? So it's there's not a single person from the MC50, which I feel like that says something alone. I mean, those guys were
yeah.
all pretty big names, and it's kind of like one of those things where, hey, we got better things to do. I would say, but again, perhaps Wayne, it's Wayne's way of taking a bigger piece of the pie. Um, yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't want to crap on the guy. I mean, but it just is kind of like it's the whole thing is kind of hit me strange. And the other thing that was weird is that they had a lot of different social media things. Like there was the MC 50 live or something like that. I don't know. And it was weird when they posted it. I got like three things in a row on Instagram of like all the different. So and I was like, oh, I forgot that I had even been following these ones. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Once I hear maybe some more songs, we'll see. But this one might be one that to sit on the bench for. But
But
let's do
something
it.
that we don't want to sit on the bench for. Let's talk about the greatest rock and roll band in the whole
The
entire
old
world.
greatest rock and roll band in the world, the Rolling Stones. All right, Steve. So again, for folks that may have joined late or just joined now, we are going to give our personal top 12 Rolling Stone songs that weren't singles. Um, Now, just to clarify, it can be a B side. We did talk about
It can be a B side.
can be a B
It just
side.
can't be a big giant radio hit.
Well, or something that was released as a single A side. This is going to be our radio hit, which I stayed away from those. But I did. I think I've maybe one or two B sides. But
Now, I do, as always, have some honorable mentions. Do you want me to do those after?
see, you know what I did, and maybe you can do this too. My honorable mentions, I did my first. The other thing, we could only pick one song from each album. That was the other thing I
Yes,
forgot to mention that
correct,
too.
correct.
Oldies Radio says Star Star. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that nothing from Goat's Head Soup is on this list for me. So I didn't put a single one from Goat's Head Soup on here.
Sir.
Not a one. And I
Hmm.
also the really early albums, going back and sort of listening to those and sort of like finding like, hey, what's this diamond in here that's not a hit? I had a really hard time doing that on those first couple albums, and I'm so used to like I know like the UK version of Aftermath and the US version of Aftermath, and um, I just was kind of like really fatigued at that point where I was like, I'm just not gonna do this. So I sort of went backwards. I went from like newest to oldest, and that's sort of how I devised my list. Just to let you
You don't like Winter? That's one of their best ballads of all time. Nothing off of Goathead Suit, man.
know. 2,000 light years from home, says Oldies Radio. Um,
That's a great song.
that is a great song. Steve, so honorable mentions. Do you have an honorable mention from an album that you have one other song from? If that makes sense.
No,
Okay, so
no.
then give me your honorable mention.
All three of my honorable mentions
Okay.
are so I'm just going to start off. These are in no particular order. All right, Sitting on a Fence.
Okay.
I enjoy that one quite a bit. The second honorable mention would be No Use in Crying off of Tattoo You. That's another
Okay.
ballad.
Yeah.
Ain't
Okay.
no use in crying. It's my
Yeah.
favorite song off of Tattoo You. And the last song, this is one that I struggled keeping off this list. And I have
So this
sat
is
with my
this is
list
like a
for
number
over a
13,
week.
right? Right. This is like a number
This is more like 12 and a half.
12 and a half. Okay.
Uh, and it's Dandelion.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
Love Dandelion. So those are my honorable mentions.
You know,
Lion.
it's funny you say that one because I so as I was like going through this, I came across I haven't listened to what is it? More Big Hits and Phased Cookies, right?
Face Cookies.
Yeah, like I haven't listened to that one in a bit.
That's an odd comp, but I love it. I
But
love
I
it.
was listening like the whole way through. I was like, this is just each song was like, yes, yes, yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Um,
great.
and really, again, like they have some like I think Hot Rocks we can say is probably
It's the greatest hits of all time.
double album
But
greatest hit. Okay.
there is one glaring omission from it, and that's the last time is not on there.
But that's on Phase Cookies.
They had to put it on because they were like, "Oh, God, we forgot it."
Yeah. Um, yeah. That's a great tune. That would have made my list, but it was a single. So
That would have
um,
made that and Jumpin' Jack Flash would have been at the top of my list. But
Dandelion don't
I
spare.
love that
So
song.
good, man.
No,
That's good.
it's great. It's just just a great pop psych song. I loved it. God, I should have put that at 12.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's again, that's that era of the Rolling Stones. That sort of
And
I'm
it didn't last that long. That
no,
psych period was like from 67, and that was
it
it.
was like one album. It was really their Satanic Majesty's Request and all the singles that came before it and after it, and that was it. So
Right.
I mean,
May have
just
not even been a year, may have been 6, 8 months, and that was it.
yeah, because then what Beggars Banquet came out, so that's almost like
Right.
completely different. So that's hard to believe that those albums are back to back. I mean, it's like, and it's like Sergeant Pepper to the White Album. It really is what it is. It
Mhm.
really is. There's a parallel there. But give me your number 12. Let's hear it.
Do you have any honorable mentions? No.
No, I don't, because the honorable
No.
mentions that I have were it was either between one or the other, and I just was like I went with one. So all the honorable
All
mentions
right.
I have appear on other albums that I've chosen from.
All right. Number 12.
What was it?
I'm
Wait, wait.
waiting.
Uh,
Ah!
what was that? What was that question you were going to ask me today, though? And then you said, "Well, we'll hold off on that because we really were
I was
sworn to secrecy
I,
for
w-
about 2 weeks
I
now."
was. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even though I was kind of like, Mark, what are you putting on your list? I was being a bad influence. But I was going to ask you, was anything post like on your list post 1978?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. All right. My number 12 is I'm Waiting.
I am waiting. Okay.
Waiting.
All right.
I love it. It's a really great ballad. Again, like you said early on in the show, the Stones have some really great ballads, and I think that's kind of an. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham covered it on his solo album, like
I had
about 15.
I had
Like
no idea.
no, I think like 06, 07, whenever that album came out. We got a promo in and played it over the top, and I was like, wait a second, but it does a really good version of that. So yeah, I'm Waiting is really really great.
Remind me
So
what album
that's
that is on. I'm trying to think.
Aftermath.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Which I could have picked a lot of stuff from Aftermath. I love High and Dry is really great too.
It's like
Uh,
5.
yeah, so Aftermath it's a really great record. But yeah, number 12, I'm Waiting.
So mine is spoilers. This one's from 1994. I did the worst off of Voodoo Lounge. I know you hate that album. I know you
Ooh,
hate that album.
Mark Ditch.
It's just a good, like, I don't know, man. That song has taken me places. I've been places where that song has just hit the spot. Like
I like Added Tears on that record. I will say that.
yeah. I mean, it's a long album. I mean, if they
It overstays its welcome pretty darn
yeah,
quick.
yeah. If that album would have been, 40 minutes instead of what is it, 78 minutes, it's almost like a double CD. It's very close to being a double CD.
It's how 90s Exile. It's like don't
Right,
say that.
right, yeah. 2 records set on 1 CD, right?
Call now. Operators are standing by.
But yeah, the worst from Voodoo Lounge will be my number 12.
Honestly, I'll have to go back and listen to that because
Okay.
it's not ringing any bells off the top.
It's a Keith Richards
Because I
tune.
do think it's one of the worst. Stop.
It's a Keith Richards tune.
And I don't mind Keith's voice.
And
so.
it's like sort of like a country sort of and Mick comes in and they're singing harmony with each other, and
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty good tune. So
I'll have to go back and listen to it. Legitimately, I will.
yeah, please do that.
Okay.
Number 11, Steve.
Now, This is the one I let slip.
Okay.
It was either between Salt of the Earth
Okay.
or this song which I picked, and it's Jigsaw Puzzle.
Okay. All right.
Jigsaw Puzzle. I ended up picking just because I absolutely love that song. It's the smallest amount you can think of over Salt of the Earth, but
Okay.
that's what it was. Love Salt of the Earth. It's one of their, again, we talked about ballads.
Yep.
All their most of their ballads are great, but yeah, Jigsaw Puzzle I think is great, and you really hear. I think I'm assuming it's Bill Wyman on bass, but good lord, that bass groove is just, I mean, that's straight out of Motown, and you hear just how perfect a bass player Bill Wyman is, especially on that song.
Yeah. So, and that's off of Beggar's Banquet for those that don't. Just to, I know we didn't say that, but yeah, that's a good pick. Not my pick, but
Okay.
we'll revisit that album soon.
Ooh.
But my number 11 is yet another one that is a tune that, like I said, sort of has a little bit of a emotional tie to. And this is off of A Bigger Bang. So, yeah, was that 2005?
Rain Fall Down?
That was a single. That was a single.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
But oh no, not you again, which I think is
no, not you again,
right.
Messing up my life.
Yes.
I like
a
A
great
Bigger
song.
Bang. That the majority of that record is really great.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's like, I think it's just for the times. I think that return to form. I know they said that every single album.
We're going back to our roots on this one. You're gonna hear our early stuff.
They've said that, like, what, every album past Exile, right? That they were return to form. But that was a really good. And I have the new one. I have that Blue and Lonesome, and I say new.
That's really great too.
And that came out.
That's 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But I didn't pick any songs from that one. But when Bigger Bang came out, and I know I've told this story several times before, and I'll say it again. Was working at the record store. That came out on. This is when records came out on Tuesdays, right?
Tuesdays.
Now everything comes out like on Fridays now.
Fridays.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or maybe vinyl comes out on Friday and CDs come out on Tuesday. I don't know.
CDs come out and then vinyl takes 8 months to get out. So right. just ask Adele fans waiting for that new LP.
But it came out on Tuesday, and the CD came out over Labor Day weekend. So my boss at the record store, he worked Monday through Friday. He would work mornings, and then we would close up the shop, and we would also work on the weekends. And so we got the CDs like maybe that Thursday, I think, or Friday, whenever the FedEx guy came, and he was like, if you want, he's like, you can buy this now. Like, it's in the system. I'll let you buy it now. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So that Labor Day weekend, we listened to Bigger Bang the entire weekend long. And like you said, everybody like dug it. And it was just so cool for me to be like, do you want to listen to the Rolling Stones that doesn't come out until Tuesday? And even it was like 4 days. It was so stupid, but it was like, it was such a great feeling to be able to do that. You know?
See, I worked at a record store in 06 and 07, and that was the thing. We would get the FedEx guy would come like Thursday midday, and then, you know, like when we would get those boxes in for that release, you know, my boss would cut them open. If there were promos, everybody would fight over them. He would do the same thing. It's like, all right, it comes out tomorrow or it comes out Monday or whatever. You can go ahead and take a copy now. But when you get here Monday, scan it in the system and pay for it then.
Oh, okay.
So, right. But that's what we did. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and so I thought that was, for me, that was cool, and especially where it was like the Rolling Stones, it felt like that was something special, where it wasn't like, it wasn't just like,
it's a new Rolling Stones album.
Here's some band that I found, like, this was like the new Rolling Stones. You want to hear the new Rolling Stones album? I got it. So yeah, those 4 days I was king. But yeah, so Bigger Bang, love that album. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, me too.
So
me too. That's great.
Number 11. Give me your number 10.
Number 10. This is a song that, to me, this encapsulates the Rolling Stones. Like, if you were going to say, give me one song that just over exemplifies the Rolling Stones, it would be this one. And it comes off of Metamorphosis, the compilation album that came out in 75, and it's I'm Going Down.
Okay. That's a great tune.
Are you? Yes. Just the riff that kicks in there. It's got a huge saxophone solo in the middle of it. Mick is just on point as always with his vocal delivery. I'm Going Down, to me, that is the nucleus, the antithesis of the Rolling Stones. Like, that song just encompasses everything I love about that band in 4 minutes or whatever, how long it is. But yeah, I'm Going Down is just darn near perfect.
So I stayed away from Metamorphosis because I didn't know if that was off limits, since that was sort of like a compilation album. But yeah, that's a good pick off of that one. That record is good. I think it's there's some nice little chestnuts that of course, what was that? All B-sides and sort of alternate takes and stuff like that, right? Wasn't that how?
Yeah, and unreleased tunes like Walking Through the Sleepy City and things like that. I'd much rather be with the boys. I think those were like unreleased, like Brian Jones era stuff. And it basically is a nice little. To me, that album's always kind of reminded me of, like, Beating the Bootleggers, so to speak, just because it's like, let's just put out this comp that kind of covers our entire career up into that point. So it's great.
I think probably from a copyright standpoint, some things just stick in your mind. That's a great tune off of there, which is they wrote that for Vashti Bunyan. I don't know if you probably don't know who that is, but
no.
What else was on here? Walking Through the Sleepy City. Memo from Turner would probably
be
my pick off of that one, I'd say. If I had to pick one tune for that.
Jack White made a career out of that one riff.
Right. Yeah, nice pick, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a definitely
sneaking in a curveball.
Yeah. Number 10 for me, I did again, we're sort of kind of reverse chronological here for most of these. I did Little TNA from Tattoo You.
Wow. Okay.
She's my little rock and roll. Two key tunes.
Sometimes I will just go, oh, like just like out of the blue, like. You'll have to know, like, the quirks and everything else. Like, I'll just say, she's my little rock and roll. I could be doing the laundry, walking the dog, washing dishes. It doesn't matter. Like, that'll just come out. So, but yeah, that's wow. Little TNA makes your top. Okay, all right. No judgment. It's a great song.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised it's on your list. Again, no shade, no judgment.
Okay.
Not being nasty to you at all. You know me better than that. I'm very surprised that that's, in a good way. It's a nice surprise that that's on your list.
Yeah. How about your number 9?
Number 9. All I want to do is to get back to you.
Oh, Connection.
Steve, off of.
Almost picked that. Between
a Keith tune off of 67's Between the Buttons. You got what a great pop song that is.
So that was I had that as an honorable mention, but that wasn't the one that I picked off of Between the Buttons. But
that was a tough pick because I love Between the Buttons. I even like Yesterday's Papers, which I know is kind of an odd song, but I love that. I love All Sold Out. I love Miss Amanda Jones. What's that? Calm, Cool, Collected. I love that. Or excuse me, not that. She Smiled Sweetly. That one almost made. She Smiled Sweetly almost made my list. I absolutely adore She Smiled Sweetly.
I'll just leave it at that.
Good. That's a great song. It's so great. Like that opening. Or why am I talking about that song? I should be talking about Connection.
Yeah.
Again, Connection. Just a perfect song. It just encapsulates that time period of them. I think just perfect.
Well, and I think that especially that album, like, people talk about, like, oh, Satanic Majesty's Request, that was a real druggy album, but like Between the Buttons
is up there too.
Is you can tell that
I mean, Connection. That's about hiding drugs in your pocket and in your suitcases. Wonder what is they always suspect them.
But there's a great story too. That's like if you look at the cover of that, and of course Brian Jones is like absolutely demented on the cover of that album.
Hey, Keith's got those big sunglasses,
Well,
no doubt hiding like those huge raccoon eyes, I'm sure.
so what it's from is they were the guy that took the picture. He he said,
Was like, hey, you want some drugs
no,
before we do
hold on.
this photo shoot?
Well, that's he said they wanted to do a photo shoot first thing in the morning. So like they did it at like whenever the sun was coming up, like 6 o'clock, 5:30 ish in the morning. And like if you're ever up at that time, like it's like when everything's sort of still dark, but then like just around you, the sun's kind of coming up, and it's like you know again it's kind of like an eerie look. That's when they took the picture. They were in the studio for the night before, and right when they were walking out of the studio they said, okay, we're going to do the photo shoot. So that's the story behind it. So that's why
Well,
Brian Jones looks like he's ganked to the 10th degree, you know what I mean? Like
because he was.
because he was right, because he was probably on a bender the whole night, hanging out in the studio, whatever. Yeah, Connection is a great tune though. That was an honorable mention that I had. So
Connection.
so we made a connection on that one. My,
Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. My number 9. This is probably one of my favorite Stones ballads. I think this one is up there. Maybe one of their best ballads. On an album
Full
that
to Cry.
nobody gives a crap about. No, not Full to Cry. That was a single, right? I think
I
so,
know, I'm just
right?
teasing.
Is
Yeah.
is Memory Motel from Black and Blue.
You're just a memory. I like that song.
That's so good. It's such a good tune.
Her eyes were hazel.
Is there any
Is that what it says?
is there any from Black and Blue on your list? Can you tell me? No?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. I'll take that as a maybe. All right. So we'll move on. That's mine. Memory Motel is just a great tune. It's a great ballad. And it's Keith and Mick trading vocals. Fantastic. It's a great tune.
Agree. What is this? 8?
Yeah, number 8.
So this song comes from It's Only Rock and Roll, which I'm not a huge fan of that record. I think that album, saying that album is patchy, I think is being polite. However, we talked about Jigsaw Puzzle having a groovy bass line. This does as well, and I wonder if Bill Wyman played on it. Maybe, I'm sure he did. He's credited, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, they kind of changed, Keith played bass every now and then and all that. But
right.
We are talking about the song that closes that album, Fingerprint File.
Fingerprint File. That's a great tune.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Doesn't work too well live, but when you get, that studio verse, especially like the ending, where Mick is say die, ow, just that's so great. And the piano in the background or keyboards in the background.
Kind of a longer song too, isn't it? Like about 7 minutes long or something like that.
Yeah, it's really really great. That's to me, that album is kind of like a reward for getting through, like, Shortened Curls and some of the other direct that's on that album. Time Waits for No One is really great too. I really love that song. But Everything Turns to Gold is okay. But yeah, that's got, what is that? Little Shortened Curls and
Curlies.
There's Shortened Curlies. Yeah. That, and then there's something else on there that just really stings. I have to look it up.
Ain't Too Proud to Beg. That cover is kind of
it starts off okay with
if you can't rock
me, but even then, Luxury is really great too. If I had to pick another song from that album, it'd be Luxury. But Fingerprint File makes it. I think that's a really cool jam that they have on there.
Yeah.
So.
For my number 8, this is off of Some Girls, When the Whip Comes Down.
When the Whip Comes Down.
Another fantastic tune. That one
definitely can't play that one on the radio.
Yeah. That was a B-side. I think a B-side to Beast of Burden, I think, right? Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the B-side for that one. And I think they did it. The UK, they released a different. I think they did a different Respectable. I think they did Respectable, and then When the Whip Comes Down in the UK for that single. But again,
that makes sense though, right? Those are two punkish tunes. So
I mean, in that album, I don't think, to me, out of all the Stones album, I think that's one that hasn't really aged well in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I don't listen to it that much. I mean, I've like replaced pretty much every single Rolling Stones album that I have, like, that like, but that's the one I still have like the '80s CD of it, and it's really funny because like
Really?
if I'm like if I listen to like everything in shuffle, it's like you can always tell
That
when
one
that
is
comes.
so muffled and
Yeah, like
quiet.
like because everything is just like so loud, and then like that one is just like you have to like, oh, I have the volume up the whole way, and then it's like
Yeah.
if something else comes on like jing jing, oh, my ears.
That's
Yeah.
that's wow. Yeah, I would put Some Girls in my top three like albums from them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't,
So
I feel like I don't know. There's some tough tracks
it's
on
all
there.
good.
So yeah.
That's,
Number 7, Steve. What do you got?
number seven. This comes off of Sticky Fingers.
Okay.
Um, it was this or Moonlight Mile because I love Moonlight
Mm, yeah.
Mile. What a way to end a record, right? But I went with this because when I first heard it, I was with a good friend of mine, and we could not understand where they learned how to play country music. And you probably already know what song it is.
Dead
But
Flowers.
then indeed. And then later on, I found out that, oh, Graham Parsons was hanging out with them. And so that's where it came from. But yes, Dead Flowers.
I had that that's my honorable mention off of that album. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great pick. Um,
love it.
of course, one of my favorite movies, The Big Lebowski, how that sort of is the end credits there
When you're sitting there.
with Towns Van Zandt. So, um, yeah, that's a great. I mean, I think Sticky Fingers is that's a great album. I mean, just hands down.
It's almost perfect, except
Yeah,
almost what I've got the blues. If that wasn't on there,
yeah.
it would be perfect.
Uh, Dead Flowers, number 7 for Steve.
Indeed.
Um, so really we kind of we've had two that were honorable mentions that we both had. Well, I had they were honorable mentions for me, but they were they're your picks. Number 7 for me was I'm Free from December's Children.
Okay.
I'm free to do what I want any old time. It's almost a Bob Dylan song.
So hold me, love me.
Yeah, I think that's a one that's sort of could have been a single, but it
I'm
just
surprised it wasn't.
yeah, just the again, it's sort of that Phil Spector sort of
Yeah,
sound to it was
that's a great song.
yeah.
That's really great.
What number 6? What do you got?
So this comes off of your most loved Rolling Stones album, Goat Head Soup, as you told me early on in the broadcast. As I mentioned, winter
Winter. Okay,
is no, no, it's not winter. It's not winter though. It's
I know.
not that. It's not that. Uh, Love winter, but it is not as good as 100 years ago.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's a track that nobody talks about.
They don't. They played it live one time in Australia in '73, and that's been the last I think anybody's talked about it. But Goat Head Soup is. I said Some Girls is my third favorite Stones album. Goat Head Soup, I think, would be my second favorite Stones album. Let It Bleed would be my numero uno. But yeah, 100 years ago, the way it starts off ballady and kind of chugs along and then goes right into that funk rock indie is just holy smokes. That's mind blowing. Great stuff.
That's
Always love that song.
and don't get me wrong. Like I like Goat's Head Soup. There's a handful of really. I mean, Heartbreaker is probably one of my favorite tunes. Like that's probably like top 25 Stones tunes for me.
Okay.
I
But
think
it's got some it's I'm not gonna justify and say that Can You Hear the Music and things like that are
yeah.
great. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's really the first Stones album where there starts to be really some stinkers on it, where they're just kind of
Agree.
like
Agree.
you're just like, oh, wait a second, what's going on here? And that was what
This isn't good.
1973,
73. Yeah.
73, yeah. Number 6, so I can reveal mine from between the buttons. It was Smiled Sweetly.
Okay.
Again, it's a cool. Like I said, that album is pretty drug fueled, and nobody talks about that. I think for that album, and it's just there's some really cool. I don't know. it's a manic album, I think is what I'll say, because it's
Yes.
really it's all over the place, and it's just
Up
like,
and down, up and down,
yeah.
up and down.
And I think at that time for the Rolling Stones, they're coming off of their hits with Satisfaction and stuff like that, and it's kind of that, out of the Lincoln and into the Lear kind of thing, where they're just like, I'm in this city, I'm in this city, hey, we're in this city tomorrow, we're in this city, and you really get that impression from them that it's just like, they're just doing speed, right? And it's just like that's it. It's all uppers, right? And it's the truth. It's the truth, right? That's all those guys are doing.
Right,
So,
right.
but yeah, that's my pick from that. And honorable mention that was in the movie The Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know if you're a fan of that Wes Anderson films at all, but
Okay,
it's good. I like it. So,
right on.
number 5, Steve.
Number 5. This should be higher, but I think there are 4 songs better than it. I absolutely love this song, Markalicious. It is so great and so good. And the song is Child of the Moon.
Oh, nice. Okay. I thought of
So
that one. I thought about that one, but I didn't.
love it, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, that great psychedelic rock
Yeah.
mixed in a little bit of pop elements, certainly in
That
the
goes right.
chorus.
That
But
goes right
yeah,
with like Dandelion, like that sort of that
yeah,
era of where
yeah,
they're like these songs are really psychedelic and just sort of that, the weird reverb and things like that they had going
yeah.
on. So for my number 5, I think it's again we're getting into that, some of the good ones, some of those good psychedelic ones that are the chestnuts in there. Number 5, it really could be the whole album for their Satanic Majesty's Request, as far as I'm concerned. But if I had to choose one, I'm going to go with Citadel, which I think is,
Okay.
again, that song is, just the way that the
Boom,
guitars
dun,
are,
dun,
like,
dun,
yeah, like,
dun.
I mean, there are bands that would have loved to have had that song as their um, tune. But again, here's some honorable mentions from here. Um, of course, 2000 Man, again, another amazing song off of that album. And again, I will mention, I'll give, again, we'll put this on the record. I first heard that song off of the Kiss Unplugged, MTV
You're right,
Unplugged thing,
right.
and I think that gave me sort of the affinity to really enjoy it when hearing the Rolling Stones version of it, and just the lyrics of that are really, yeah,
Yeah.
how fitting they are. What a 2000 man is having an affair with a random computer, and again, I could give you a whole thesis about that, but that whole album is. I love that album, and it was interesting
Yep.
because I was like, "What was the single off of that album?" And it was Lantern with
The
Bill
lantern,
Wyman,
yeah.
and then I forget what the B side was.
Like the
It's
gnome or something.
no, no, no. Let me look at it and I'll tell you. Um, I had to like double check and be like, okay. But I think that's pretty cool that you can just sort of pick any song off of there, and it wasn't "In Another Land" was the
And
single, and then what was
another.
the? Hold on, let me go. Let me look at the thing here.
Matthew Smith says he loves Fingerprint File. Right on. See,
Yeah, that's a great tune.
oldies radio. I got the celebrity version of Some Girls. Ooh, that's awesome, man. I don't have that. That's really cool.
Oh, "In Another Land" was the A side, and then "Lantern" was the B side. Carry the lantern high. Oh, what a weird song, man. But yeah, that's I mean, hands down, that album is one that I listened to quite a bit. And I had like when that reissue campaign started, I had Hot Rocks, and then like the first one I bought brand new, not used, was their Satanic Majesty's Request. And then once they started, people started taking them to the used place, I picked them up every time that I saw that. But those CDs sound amazing, and I know we've talked
Oh
about
yeah. Oh,
them.
they're. Oh yeah.
They're,
Oh yeah.
they
Yeah.
sound so good. But give me your number 4.
Number 4. This comes off of Sun Girls. My favorite Keith song, Before They Make Me Run.
Okay.
After all that's said and done.
Yeah,
Love that song. So
that's a good
great.
one.
Just
That's a good one.
it's love it, man. I absolutely love it. Keith's voice on that is just absolutely perfect.
And I
The
and think
chorus, everything. Love that song.
and we could make like honestly, you could make a Keith album out of like everything that he ever did,
And it
and
would be great.
yeah, with like Happy and like yeah, you know what I mean, like just and it would be again, it would only be maybe 10 or 12 songs, but at the same time, it would be pretty good. Um, okay, so that's I thought about that one. Um, hold on, just
There
trying
ain't
to.
a dry in the house.
His
And it's another.
it's always fun how his tunes are just sort of like he just gets them out there. You know what I mean? Like they're not
Yeah.
complicated. Like they're not complicated tunes. Um, just so Mick can change his outfit when they're on stage. That's really all that's for. My number four is off of Beggar's Banquet. I said No Expectations. I really love that song.
Okay.
Um, and as an honorable mention from that album, also Prodigal Son, I think is also really. Um, I just the guitar part I learned how to play that one time in an open tuning, and yeah, that's a great tune. But No Expectations. I always feel like it's a good sort of like end credit kind of like the movie of your life. Roll the No Expectations, and I think that's I feel like that's I don't know. It's
No, dear. Do you like Dear Doctor? I'm sorry.
dude. I mean, it's yeah. It has its moments. I think that there's certain times when it's just like I'll listen to it and I'll be like, that's a funny song, and then other times like whatever. But yeah, let's hear your three.
Number three, you've already mentioned it. Citadel.
Oh, that's okay. All right, so we got our first. We got our first.
That guitar riff and Charlie just
Dude,
pounding away.
there's what
It's
there's 367 different Rolling Stones songs. I picked it for number five. You picked it for number three. So that
I
made
dude,
me.
I've always loved it. I have always loved it like that. That's like, proto hard rock. I mean, it really is. It's great. That riff is just so infectious.
I think that I'm really excited for your number one and number two pick at this point because there's two albums that we haven't mentioned. Either one of us have mentioned. Um,
I was just thinking, like, none of us have mentioned Exile on Main Street.
so number three for me is off of Sticky Fingers. Honorable mention, of course, was Dead Flowers, like we had talked about earlier. But for me, it's Can't You Hear Me Knocking? Like, and like the conga part of that, like, oh
Yeah.
man, can't get enough
Now,
of that
is
one.
it true that they let it roll and like when they were jamming, they just kind of let the tape? I've heard that rumor before that they just let them. They were jamming and just kept the tape rolling.
I never heard that before, but that's
Oh, okay.
I would believe it if that's the case. Because if you think about some of the some of those later albums, I get the impression that sort of like Keith comes in and he's like, "Hey, check this out," and then Mick Jagger just gets on the microphone and just starts like,
I was born a sailor man, sailing through the land, and then I went to Tahiti and saw girls in bikinis.
yeah,
They're
exactly,
like, "All right, Charlie, do your thing."
yeah. Charlie's keeping the beat, yeah, keeping it going. Bill's still trying to figure out where to plug in the the
Easy
thing into
go
the end.
right here. I was up there at the top.
Who didn't who where's the plug? Where's the plug?
And
Who put
and
my
Ron was just,
avenue? Yeah. Ron's on his
does
second
anybody
cigarette.
remember me?
Yeah, exactly. He's just happy to be there. Like
It's
you ever see that? Like you
he's
ever like even now, like when you
he's
see him,
he's the new guy. He's only been in the
oh,
band for
right,
40 friggin' years. Well,
right.
longer than that, probably 45 years now.
He's just
And
happy
he's
to be there. Yeah. It's so funny. All right,
oh
Steve.
man.
Number two.
Number two. Woo. Uh I'm a monkey man.
Oh,
Monkey
okay.
Man.
Monkey
Number
Man.
two's Monkey Man. That beginning piano, oh my goodness, and sets up, and there's some stuff that's about to go down.
Yeah. Um,
So
that's a good pick. And again, that's a tough album just to kind of pick one
yeah,
song off of. Monkey Man is good. My number two pick is also from Let It Bleed, not Monkey Man, but I said Midnight Rambler. It's just
all right.
I love the harmonica, the riff of that. I'm gonna stick the knife down your throat. I mean,
And it hurts.
and it hurts. I mean, that, and of course on Get Your Ya-Ya's Out, they that. They make
Oh,
that.
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
So
But
great, so great.
yeah,
Yeah, that used to be my favorite Stone song. It has been replaced by several.
all
So
right,
that
Steve.
would be
Here
further
we
on down
are.
the list.
Number one. Number one. Tell me the song that you have
You
chosen
you
from
will not
from
you will not guess
Exile on Main
this.
Street. Tell me.
It's not on
Uh,
Exile on Main Street.
you didn't pick any
Hold on.
song. Oh,
Let me. I plead with you, sir. Let me address the jury. The reason I did not do this, pick anything from Exile, is because I could not decide between stuff like Sweet Black Angel, Loving Cup, Torn and Frayed. Gun to the head decision, Torn and Frayed would be on the list,
okay.
but I could not decide between like Torn and Frayed, Sweet Black Angel. Like, what is that? Side two, like side two of that album, Loving Cup, Sweet Black Angel, Torn and Frayed. Like, good lord, that's just, it doesn't get better than that. I even like stuff like I Can't See His Face, or I Just Want to See His Face, rather. But I could not decide what song to put on that. And I sat with this list for a week and did not change it. But this song comes off an album I am not a big fan of at all. But this song, I think, I cannot wait to hear your reaction to this. It comes off of Black and Blue, and it's Hand of Fate.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I mean,
Underwhelming to say the least. Okay, Mark.
Oldies Radio 6.
The Hand of Fate.
Wild horses couldn't drag me away from consumer cellular. Track phone. I mean, all right.
Shot him once, or you shot me once, but I shot him twice. The Hand of Fate. You don't like that song?
I mean, Black and Blue is an album that I don't play all that often, but that is a good tune. That is a good tune. When I think of that album, I don't think of that song first.
Nobody does. That to me, that's just like the Citadel. It's like nobody really talks about that song. It's just kind of one of those tunes that just kind of, for me, just kind of flies under the, or not the Citadel. 100 years ago, no one talks about that song. It just kind of flies under the radar a little bit. But dude, I love it.
Your list is to say that
bonkers.
To say that it's, I mean, I'm not saying it's there's no right or wrong answer to this.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm not saying it's right.
But you really picked a lot of songs that I think they're great. Like, I think they're really great. But like, I don't think of those, like I said, that album, like I just don't think of that song. And same thing with like 100 years ago. Like, I don't think of that song. When I think of Ghost Head Soup, I don't think of that song. So it's like, I'm gonna put a playlist together just to listen to your tunes. But yeah, that's crazy, man. That's, yeah. Are you gonna guess my number one?
Before we spill the beans with me all night. Can I guess?
Go ahead. You have 3 guesses.
Okay. It's obviously off of Exile on Main Street. It's not a hit. I'm gonna say, hold on, I'm going to pull up Exile on Main Street right here so I can make a super duper good guess. I'm not going to need 3. I'm going to need 1.
Can I tell you what the singles were off of Exile, just so you know?
Please.
Okay. Anybody else want to guess? Oldies Radio, I think you're the only one here.
All right.
So Tumbling Dice and Happy.
I love Happy. What a great song that is.
The 2 singles on there. So it's neither one of those.
All right. Can you tell me this? Do you have the vinyl track listing pulled up in front of you? Can you tell me what side it is?
I mean, I think you already mentioned it, man. It's side 2.
Okay, because I was going to say it's either Shine a Light, but that's not my choice. I am going to say Mark Ditch's favorite is Loving Cup. I can't see nothing.
Boom.
Loving Cup.
You know me. You know me better.
With that Charlie Watts drum fill.
Charlie's good tonight. Yes. Loving Cup, man. That is a great. I mean, hands down, I think. I know that I said that like
I
I know that I said like Majesties was like that's an album that I can just listen to, and it's just like, the whole, uh, just that the carnival sort of aspect to it, right? Yeah, what a beautiful buzz. You know it, John. Um, yeah, that's. I think that and truthfully, the
and
Fish
Mark
Cup.
Neely, Torn and Frayed. That's
Yeah,
perfect. That's a great song.
the the Fish version, right, of Love and Cup is one that I kind of went back and like was like, okay, I gotta listen to this. Let me listen to this tune a little bit better. But the Stones one yeah, is great, man. I think it's
Yeah.
I think Exile probably is my all-time favorite. Satanic Majesties I listen to quite a bit. I got a lot of miles on that one. I mean, I just it's a silly record. It's kind of like Sergeant Pepper, where you can just put it on and it's just like you don't have to think about it, right? So it makes it easy to kind of do that. But yeah. So what did we miss? Anybody in the chat? What are tunes that we missed that would have been on your list? Anybody
I'm
got?
I'm su- I'm surprised by your list. I'm surprised by
Was it
like
predictable? Did you feel it was
no.
predictable? Not at all. Okay.
I mean, maybe a little bit. Like I had an inkling that Loving Cup would be on your list at some point. But I know a lot of these like Little TNA and Memory Motel. Dude, for $1 million, I'd have been like, they're not on this list. She Smiled Sweetly too. Like, you're the only other person
The
that,
Rice
that knows
Krispies
that
jingle.
song and likes that song.
There you go. The Rice Krispies jingle.
Wake up in the morning.
Rice Krispies. Yeah, Rice Krispies. That's good. I made with my daughter. We made a Rice Krispie treat. So check this out. This is what we did. Because when I do stuff, right? Like I just can't do the vanilla, right? Like I got to do the we got to go next level everything that we do, right? Yeah, exactly. Everything has to
Right.
be next level. So Rice Krispie treats, we made those.
Okay.
But I had a box of. Do you remember? You know how recently they had all the, like what do you want to call them? The spooky cereals, like the Frankenberry, the Boo Berry. You know how all those were like back out.
I'm very familiar with Blueberry.
Okay. Do you know about Monster Mash? Did you know about Monster Mash that they made? Do you know what that was?
What is this?
So it
No.
was just like a combination of all the cereals together, like Count Chocula, Blueberry.
Why am I told about this in March when it's available in October?
Right. Yeah. So I think
It sounds amazing.
I may have one box left of it. I'll have to check. Monster Seals. Yeah, exactly. So we took, we did like 3/4 Rice Krispies, but we did like 1/4 of the Monster cereals, the Monster Mash stuff. And man, oh
And it was
man,
amazing.
it was the best Rice Krispie treats that I've ever made in my entire life. I will say too. I will say one other time, and I posted this on Instagram a little while ago. Um, so Post cereals, right? You know the brand Post, right? So they have
Sure.
like Honey Bunches of Oats.
Honeycombs.
Well,
Yeah.
Honey. I think Honey Bunches of Oats is sort of like their. That's like
Are you talking about like adult cereals?
That's their like adult cereal, yeah. But the
Yeah.
rest of the cereals are like they're gonna straight up trying to kill you. Like they have because they have all those Hostess cereals, right? Like they do like there's the Twinkie cereal and they do like the we'll call them the donuts. What do you call those things? What do you call those things?
Donuts?
The donuts that are DONETTES. That's the.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So you're not as again.
I'm not a big cereal dude. Like I'm not even a big breakfast guy. Like I'm
just talking Hostess donuts here. You remember the donuts? Like
don't.
you remember like the pies, like the Hostess fruit pies?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What are the donuts called?
They call them,
like the powder donuts, like the small ones.
Little packet. They're called like donuts or something like that. So
I just thought they're called donuts.
It's
is this a regional thing?
It might be. It might be. So it's DONETTES. So it's not like donuts, like donut plural. I would donuts, like the Ronettes, but they're with a D.
Hey, you got any donuts over here?
Them donuts. Okay, so they make donuts cereal. Or donuts cereal, whatever you want to call them.
It says here that I'll buy a pack of the donuts and I can mail away for a Donny or for what it said for the Donny Iris record.
So, but Post has a s'mores cereal, and I'm sure you've seen this before, right? You've
Yeah.
seen
Okay. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's basically like what is the what the heck is the how do they cram all that graham? What the heck is that cereal called?
Golden Grams.
Golden Grams. It's like Golden
Yeah.
Grams and like chocolate bits and marshmallows, and it's like that should not be a cereal. But I went and rip Ronnie.
Look
Oh,
at
milk cream
Sean's
pies.
comment.
Yeah,
Hot take cereal is dog
dog
food
food
for
for you.
humans.
I beg to differ. Dog food is dog food for humans. Um, yeah, yeah. Old Roy,
John wins.
give me some Old Roy Rice Krispie treats. Anyhow, so I took the Post s'mores cereal and
Yeah.
I made a Rice Krispie treat out of it, and it was
You're just like a mad scientist with like a
yes,
Martha Stewart edge this afternoon.
and and of course it was you had to think of that Jurassic Park line where it was your scientists were too busy you know and
Wondering if you can. You never stop to ask
that's
yourself if you
if you
should.
should exactly. Man, it was delicious, but yeah, that was that. Bosa's best cereal is grape nuts. Prove me wrong. I think that you've been proven wrong quite a bit
I
there,
don't know,
though.
man. Favorites, like, I'm not a big cereal dude, but like when I get down to it and I want some cereal, like, I don't know, cinnamon toast crunch is pretty hard to beat. I know it's terrible for you, but
Ever,
it's
ever,
good.
ever oldies
Or
radio with
blueberry.
oldies radio with crackling oat brand.
Crackling rope brand, get on, boys.
They really missed out. They really missed out on
How could you
having a
not?
Neil
I
Young
mean,
tie-in with that, or Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond. I'm sorry, Neil Young. Um, what the heck was I talking about? Before I absolutely lost my train of thought because we were talking about
talking
Neil
about making
Diamond on Cracklin' Oat Brand story.
crackling rope brand, get them today. Dun 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 dun.
Cracklin' Oat Brand, get on board. We're gonna go till there ain't nowhere to go.
So
Fill
pour
in
me
my
a
bowl.
bowl. Dun 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 dun. Don't you be slow.
Uh,
Spending your mom and dad's money.
oh man. Oh no, you were talking about cinnamon toast crunch. Ever since that one that was the guy that was, where I'm going with this, the guy that's married to Topanga from Boy Meets World, he did the thing where there was like the shrimp tail was in. Do you remember this? Do you
What are
remember
you
this?
talking about? What?
Look online. This is so.
Uh-huh.
So I'll rewind it. So I don't know what the person's name is, but the person who played Topanga on Boy Meets World, you know who that person is, right?
I do indeed.
Okay.
She
Her husband,
we'll stop there. I'm
her hus-
familiar with her.
her husband, he's some sort of comedian or something. But on Twitter, he posted that he had opened a bag of cinnamon toast crunch, and there were shrimp tails in it. And I think he did it as a joke, and then it just kind of like everybody started retweeting it, and it just like took off, and then everybody found out he was
Their
lying.
PR guys like, we got to
Oh
reach
yeah,
out to him
yeah,
and give him a free tote bag or
yeah,
something. We got to make this right.
yeah.
Steve should love cereal. They used to contain baseball cards. Bo, I had a Barry Larkin card from like Post cereal in like 1991. So yeah,
with just the plain hat. They took they airbrushed the logo off of that. That was always weird to see that, where it's just kind of like
just wearing a red T-ball helmet. And it's like, oh, that's Barry Larkin.
yeah. Smart Start goat cereal. I'm not familiar with Smart Start. What is that?
Any Serious Stones album parents
suggestions. All right, so if 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 their Satanic Majesty's request was a cereal, it would be Lucky Charms. Okay, Steve, your turn.
Lucky Charms would be Between the Buttons.
No,
and
no.
hold on. Wait. Satanic would be Count Chocolate because it goes with the whole spooky. No. Or it could just be Raisin Bran because it tastes like the devil. But that's
No.
Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes would be. What would Frosted Flakes be? Frosted Flakes would be Exile.
Yeah, that would be the a lot of frosting on that album, if you know what I'm saying.
Let's bring back Team Cheerio. I do like Cheerios. Cheerio. You remember they used to give you little cars? They used to come. They don't even come with like
Yeah,
nonsense anymore, do they?
Yeah, it's all scan a app on the back of the thing and play something on your phone. That's all it is.
They did that they did that for Happy Meals. Like they gave like a biodegradable paper toy. My daughter was like, "What is this?"
It's Mario Kart now, right? Have you gotten any? It's Mario Kart.
I've gone 3 times in the past 3 days. Like, yes, I'm.
And you've gotten Yoshi every time, right?
No, I've got Yoshi, Luigi, and Princess Peach. She's really big into Mario now. Everything is Mario, and like once she said, like the dude like hands me a regular like she said, "Daddy, I want to get some French fries." I said, "Okay." So we get in the line there, and I see that they have Mario Happy Meals, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding! This is fantastic! Yeah. This is fantastic!" Because like Mario is her new thing. I get there, order a Happy Meal. The dude behind there like hands me just a regular Happy Meal box. I said, "No." Yeah. And I was like, "No, I need a Mario one." He's like, "Well, they're in the back." I was like, "Can you please go get one?" She's already seen the sign.
Yeah, like what are you
this
doing?
Is going to be
what are you doing?
Like, yeah, and he's like 19. I'm assuming he doesn't have kids, but I'm like, no, you just go back. Just I'll pay for another one if I have to. Just get me a plain box. He was a super good guy, but he's like, yeah, not a problem. Gave her the box. She was super happy. She's like, oh my, I got a Mario Happy Meal. So yes, I am familiar with that, and I will probably be eating McDonald's again tomorrow. So until we complete the entire NASCAR crew of Mario and Co.
That's awesome. That's great.
So
we've gotten Yoshi, and that's been it so far. So okay, so hold on. There's some. We got bring back Zesty Italiano Totino's Pizza while you're at it.
Oh my God.
Voodoo Lounge is cracking
open.
Yeah, I think that
they used to put 45s on the back of cereal boxes too. Yeah, I never understood. So like, was it a mail away or was it like a legit 45? Like here's
it was on a piece of cardboard and then it was just
like that sounded great.
Yeah, it I'm sure it sounded terrible. You're right. It was just like you probably got one play out of it and it's just like yeah. So let's see another Stones cereal to all right, here's a suggestion. Under cover of the night, get yourself a box of Honey Smacks and leave it open for like a month and don't take anything out of it and then have it a month later. And that would be what I would pair with Under Cover of the Night.
Or Dirty Work. Just have a sandwich instead.
Yeah, Dirty Work. No, Dirty Work is
just completely miss the assignment.
Dirty Work is when you pull the plastic thing out of the box and all of the cereal that had fallen out of the bag when you had poured it out and kind of fell between the box and the bag. That's what that would be. Or on the floor.
Eat those. Yeah. Nobody eats those because immediately I know that I just pulled this out and those fell on the bag and fell on the bottom of it. I immediately think, no, this is somebody's gone like this and touched the bottom of the bag. Like same thing with French fries in the bag. They touch the bag. I can't eat them.
The bagglers.
I can't eat. Now COVID is only. Just only worse than this, but like no, the fries that fall in the bag like out of the tray or out of the thing, dude, I can't eat that. Like no, they might as well lay on the bathroom floor. I'm not eating those. Like that's you're out of your mind. Like you can't eat that. You're gonna get rickets and everything else from eating that. It's terrible. Don't do that. So that and then the soup cans, like anything like this is good Lord. I'm giving way too much of myself away. So you're in the grocery store. And you have the tomato soup can. Yeah. I don't get that first one. I get like 3 back because in my mind, I'm like, this guy has had his hand up the wazoo, the hand up his nose, and he's just going through and touching all the labels.
How many times have they pulled that one to the front, right? That's the other thing too.
Or he's like, do I want this? No, I'm not going to get it. Then he goes and caresses the other, stuff for sale there. So no, I always get the one. Doesn't matter what it is, potato chips, soup cans, everything. I always get the 3rd or 4th one back. Man, it just
okay.
because it to me it's booger free at that point.
I,
The other three cans or bags have shielded it from any kind of wrongdoing and harm.
there you go. I usually do that with
So
bags of salad because it's like that front bag of salad is always pretty sad. It's been
it's all limpy and gray. And
yeah, it's been pushed to that front on that front for so long, and everybody just pulls from the back. That's what I always
yeah,
do. All right. How about Frosted Mini Wheats? What Rolling Stones album would you pair with Frosted Mini Wheats?
frosted mini wheats would be Frosted Mini Wheats would be Tattoo You because it starts off really good, but by the end of it, you're sick of it and you never want to have another one.
And it's ripped the roof of your mouth up. That's Captain Crunch. What would Captain Crunch be?
Captain Crunch.
Oops, all berries. Which one's that? Is that the one?
Okay.
Whichever one has the most Chuck Berry tunes on it. That's the one that's Captain Crunch. Oops,
So
all
like
berries.
12 by 5 or
12 yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I could see Captain Crunch. I could see being Some Girls.
Okay. Why is
No,
that?
Tricks would be Some Girls. Tricks would be Some Girls. Tricks is Some Girls.
what ab- what about All Brand? Um,
What is All Brand? Is that
it's
like the one
it's
that helps you poop?
it's exactly what it means. Yes, it's All Brand. That's it. It is basically just pieces
That one.
wood shavings is basically what it is.
that all Brand would be dirty work again because they both are turds. They both are complete and utter turds. And every time I hear dirty work, I'm reminded. Yes, it's that bad of an album. It is absolutely horrendous.
I saw one that was in the red shrink wrap. You know how those ones came in like a red shrink wrap. Do you know that or not? Or you do? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
came in the red shrink wrap, and like I think they wanted like $12 for it, and it was like original shrink, and like I definitely had a moment where it was like, oh, like like I never saw this before. I need to get that. Um, and then you're just like, this is a terrible album. I'm paying extra money just for red shrink wrap. I can't do
Like,
that.
listen, I enjoy One Hit to the Body. I legitimately think that's a good song, but the rest of that is just terrible. It's absolutely awful. Bridges to Babylon is All Brand. I kind of like Saint of Me.
I mean,
I like that song. What a Flip of the Switch I think is all
yeah.
right.
Can we agree that like all those like Stones singles off of those later albums are good? Can we agree on that?
We can agree on that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Love is Strong, all that stuff. You got me rocking. Now, here's
Between
what I
a
wanted
rock
to
and a
ask
hard
you.
place. You like that one?
Between mixed emotions. You're not the only one with me. I love Mixed Emotions. That's a great song. Where is the cutoff for you with the Stones? And I don't mean because we both celebrate their entire catalog. I sound like that dude from Office Space, but the where is that like? I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say here. Where is that dividing line? What album specifically is to where you're like, all right, everything here back is good, everything here forward is. Yeah. Where is that dividing line for you, and why is it Tattoo You? Because
I mean, that's a tough question. That's very
okay,
difficult. I think that um,
well, I'm like Morgan Wallace. I'm asking you all the tough questions.
you are asking me all the tough questions. I think that um, everything prior to Exile, I think is, but I think there's a line. There's a line that's like maybe out of our heads. From out of our heads to Exile is like essential between that. Um, the first albums they're good, but like if you're gonna get like the Rolling Stones now, if somebody's gonna give that to you as your like first introduction to the Rolling Stones, might be difficult to kind of like get into them. You know what I mean? Um, how much would you pay to see the current Stone show? So Mark, the Stones rolled through Pittsburgh. This was pre-COVID. The tickets went on sale, and I had seen them on the Zip Code tour, which was the tour prior to that. I want to say that was 2015. Yeah, I think it was 2015. Yeah, 2015. Um, because I saw like within a matter of months, it's like within a matter of 2 months,
Really?
I saw Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, and then that was when Grateful Dead Fare Thee Well was within like the matter of 2 months. Um, and I actually saw Paul McCartney twice that year, but um, tickets were like super expensive. I think it was like I want to say they were $85 for general admission,
Is
and
that like lawn where you would like sit in the lawn or whatever?
they were at Heinz Field, so it was like you'd either be up in the stands. I think on the floor was like starting around like 175, something like that. Um, so I was like, do I want to get tickets to go see the Stones? And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. So I was like, because the last
You're like,
one,
oh, they'll be around next year.
yeah, and because the last one, like the last one, we had like 8 people go. Like so, like my brother went, my sister went, my dad went, um, Sam's dad went, Sam went, Sam's sister went.
Oh wow!
Am I
So like
missing?
literally everybody.
And then my yeah, and yeah. So I mean, it was. I mean, we basically had four and four, and then we all kind of hung out in the parking lot, and I drank Straub with Southern Comfort in it, and it was fantastic. And I was pretty loaded going in there. Um, and I think I got like one of those huge Miller Lights, like the 24-ounce cans. It was like seventeen
Good
dollars or
lord.
something like that. Yeah. Um, and I was kind of like good with it. I was like, this is.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to see them again. And I saw them before that. I saw them when Bigger Band came out in like 2006 or whatever it was. They played at PNC Park that year. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so long story short, I didn't buy tickets, and then it was delayed because of COVID, and then it happened. I think I want to say it was maybe November of 2021. It finally did happen. So it was nice to have like not have $600 tied up in tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To go see the Stones. So we
No
didn't see them.
doubt.
So we didn't see them. How about you, Steve? What would you pay for a Stones ticket?
I don't know, man. I said Morgan Wallace. I said Mike Wallace is what I meant with the tough questions
Oh, okay.
from 60 Minutes. You know, if Charlie was with them, I personally, I could drop $80 seeing them with Charlie, and
Yeah.
and not and that would be sitting on the grass too. I would be okay with that. Um, but now, I mean, there's and they're touring again. I'm sure you've seen that they've already announced European dates.
Yep.
I don't know. Uh, if COVID wasn't a thing, I'd spend $50 to go see them. 65 on up, I'd probably pass. Um, it's one of those things. I think that you kind of take it for granted, especially some of these older artists that constantly tour, like the
Yeah.
Stones. They're like, "I'll see him next time. I'll see him next time. I'll see him next time." But how many more next times are we going to have?
Yeah.
And at this point, is it the Stones without Charlie? Is
Right.
and will they tour when Ron Wood or whoever else? Yes, providing Mick and Keith are still there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they'll still tour. Sure, I
100%.
absolutely
Yeah.
think those. I think they'll absolutely still tour. John says he saw them in '94. Yeah, I used to work with a guy who saw them when they played Williams-Brice Stadium where the Gamecocks play. They played there. I think '94, the Voodoo Lounge tour. They saw them there too. So yeah. I probably wouldn't spend more than $50. Like I said, if COVID wasn't a thing and all that, then yeah, $50 would be right there at my top to do that. Because once I'm not the biggest fan of going to concerts. I think I talked about this before. And just anything on up because tickets are going to be $80, but then fees and parking and everything, I'm going to be out 200. So,
Yeah.
that would kind of be my limit for the actual physical ticket, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's uh, if you have the chance to see him, that you probably should. But at the same time, it's kind of like, is the Who gonna continue on if it's just Pete Townsend, right? Like it's kind of like that thing where
Probably.
it's like,
I
like
mean,
yeah, like you get to those, you have to kind of ask yourself those questions, and like, is it an
which
experience?
brings
Yeah,
us back to
yeah,
the MC51.
right, right, exactly, yeah, the MC1,
Yeah.
in is the Rolling Stones, is a Rolling Stones concert like probably one of the craziest concerts that I've ever been to? Oh yeah, like I mean, it's just like you just see things that you just have never seen before. Like it's just like, um, It's exactly what it's the greatest rock and roll band. And like you see you I heard people. I was working with people that like were going to the show that I was like I had no idea that they would be going to the show. Like that they're like, but it's just like, hey, the Rolling Stones are coming to town. We got to go, right?
Yeah, it's
And I
it's 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 an event. It's
yeah
almost like the circus. It's
yeah.
like, you got to go see it.
Well, and I get the impression too that the 70s were no different. Hey, the Rolling Stones are coming to town, right? And it's weird to think about. I always think about like Mick Jagger, sort of like when he's wearing the that Uncle Sam hat, like the Gimme Shelter sort of era, where it's just sort of like man's tired. The man is very tired. You know what I mean? And it's just like he's going out, and it's just like it's an event. It's an absolute
Yeah.
event, um, and I agree. And I mean, the first time I saw them, Pearl Jam opened for them. So I saw Pearl Jam and I saw the Rolling
Wow.
Stones on the same night, and it was like the most incredible show that I'd ever seen. Like I was just like, this is amazing. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but it was
I was
one
told it was fun.
yeah, it was again it was a great show. So
Have you searched for that show on various
yeah, it's
websites?
it's around, but it's again, it's like one of those things that it's just like, am I gonna listen to a Rolling Stones song? I mean, that's a tough one. It's like we're not talking the Allman Brothers, we're not talking Grateful Dead here. It's like, the Rolling Stones live is the Rolling Stones live. Like it's, you pretty much get the song as it was. I mean, they are down to a clock, right? But right, the song, like if their song is
Yeah.
2 minutes and 30 seconds long, it might be 2 minutes and 32 seconds, right? Like it's not like there's no like extended jam. The only thing that's kind of special, and they did this on the Zip Code tour, was they had sort of like a fan vote where they would play one song
Well,
that
well,
was not.
well see, and that's what's always fun to me is kind of seeing that kind of stuff, because I think they played "She's a Rainbow" and things like that, like songs that made their live debut, and I think that's really kind of cool. I wish more bands would kind of do that. And realistically, the people that you say, oh, I never thought I'd see Joe here. Is Joe the biggest Rolling Stones fan? Probably not. So you could play the hits and then sprinkle in 2 or 3 deep tracks for kind of the hardcore fans. Why they don't do that is beyond me.
Mhm.
I don't know why more bands don't do that.
Yeah,
You
and I
know,
mean they have a good. I think that what you expect from them has been the same. There's one or two songs off of the new album or whatever the case may be.
that's where you go and get beer and
Right. That's yeah,
run to the restroom real quick.
yeah. But then the rest of the show is going to be the hits, and you can just and I mean that's for me just I mean jumping up and down and singing along to Give Me Shelter or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
like it's an event, man. It's a life changing experience. But again, I'm happy to say that I saw them twice. Third time, yeah, I'm not the biggest. I'm to pay that money, they had hit their price, right? I think that generally $50 is I'll see anybody for $50. But then when you start getting above that, it's just kind of like
Yeah.
okay, but
Well, because it's not $50. It's $50 plus parking plus convenience fees, whatever that means, and all this other kind of stuff. So that 50 turns into 200 pretty darn quick, and that's before you've even bought a T-shirt and gotten a beer and things like that, which is a racket in and of itself.
oh,
But
which
you
reminds
know,
me, why don't we take a look and see? So we know that the MC1 is coming to Pittsburgh because you and I talked about that. Let's look and see how much those tickets are because they weren't on sale at the time. Any guesses, Steve?
$50,
So I wouldn't say at that venue. So they're playing at a place called
35.
they're playing a place called the Thunderbird in Pittsburgh, which is kind of like a club. I would
I'm
say
saying 35.
you're saying 35. I'm still scrolling here.
35 big ones.
$35. I think I would say you're about right. Usually about 20 to 22 is what the Thunderbird generally charges. So, um, here we go. And then why don't we wrap this show up for the evening?
That sounds good. It's past my bedtime.
Show enough. Grateful Shred is coming May 4th.
Yeah, what is that?
Oof. $35 to $55 for MC50. So there's a band called Mapache, which means raccoon in Spanish, that are these two guys, and I can't remember what their names are offhand. Um, but they have some pretty really good stuff. They're like two acoustic guitar California kind of guys, younger. I'd say that if I had to guess, they're probably like in their maybe like 28 would be what my guess would be, 25, 28, something like that. And so they're really kind of like part of that California hippie kind of thing. They're friends with guy's name, I think guy's name's Dan Hall, who he played with Circles Around the Sun with Neil Casal. So he's sort of in that sort of, you know what I mean, like that kind of um, that California group of guys. There's in a band called Gospel Beach too. I think we've
Okay.
talked about them. They're on the Bomp label. Um, and Dan Horn. Is it Dan Horn? I think it's Dan Horn. John might be able to weigh in on this. So, but Grateful Shred is those guys like sort of all have a love for Grateful Dead. So they started performing as like a Grateful Dead cover band, and
Oh, cool.
they've really made like they're definitely like top tier, right? So you got like Dark Star Orchestra and Joe Russo's Almost Dead and Billy Strings, and you have all these guys that are sort of doing the Grateful Dead thing right now. But these guys are sort of like if you want like a younger full band sort of lineup. I mean, Dark Star Orchestra, those guys are kind of in their 40s and stuff like that. John says no idea. Okay, Grateful Shred, look them up. They're on Instagram and other social media places. But they're from California. But so usually what happens is the guys from Apache will open the band. They'll open the show. They'll do their set, and then Grateful Shred will do it. So, but yeah, I'd love to see them. That would be a band I'd love to see. So
Very, very cool.
that's May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Absolutely. And happy
And
early
also with you.
birthday to
Oh yeah,
Oldies Radio.
Oldies
Sorry,
Radio.
I went back to mass real quick.
Okay.
He'll be a year older. How old will you be, Oldies Radio?
I think he said he was born in 1990, right?
So how old will you be, Oldies?
32, Oldies Radio.
32.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. 32.
This year I'm going to be 32.
Last year I was 21. Oh, I guessed it.
Look at
Well, I
Mark.
think you had mentioned it.
Are,
You had mentioned it before that you were born in 1990. I think so. Birthday's on that Saturday. Well, happy early birthday to you.
happy early birthday.
I hope you get
You'll
lots
have to
of
tell us.
vintage stuff. So
Yeah.
all right. So that was that. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Absolutely, as always.
Bo, Mark Neely, Andy, I think Oldies Radio is what your name is, your Christian name. John, who else was on?
John.
A few other people.
Bo. Did you say Bo?
Bo, yeah. Uncle Bo.
Jerry.
Jerry was on.
By.
So we'll see you guys next week. This episode brought to you by Chris at Dixieland Farm, who made the suggestion that we should talk about the Rolling Stones. So thank you for.
And if you have a suggestion, find us on them interwebs. I was hoping you would take it, but I guess I will.
You know me in social media. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Go to our Facebook page and type some stuff or email us. Good Lord. Yeah. To just type it in the comments. We'll look at it eventually.
Find us at Minglewood Preservation Society and Pit Barbecue on Facebook.
There we go. Thank you, John, for a good show. Thank you, guys. You guys are so great. Sports Truly,
Oldies Radio. Take care. We'll see you around. Ending the stream is so much fun when you can't click it. We're still live, Steve. By the